As coronavirus cases continue to rise in most states, the governors of New York, New Jersey and Connecticut announced a joint travel advisory Tuesday requiring all individuals traveling from states with significant community spread to quarantine for 14 days.
The advisory goes into effect at midnight Tuesday, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said in a press conference. Those violating the mandatory quarantine would be fined, Cuomo said.
The U.S. reported nearly 35,000 new cases on Tuesday, among the nation's largest single-day increases since the start of the pandemic, according to Johns Hopkins University.
Meanwhile, as President Donald Trump has blamed increased testing for the spike, infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci told House lawmakers Tuesday that in states where there is an increase in the percentage of people testing positive, it is a clear indication that there are additional infections that are responsible for those increases.
Fauci said the disturbing surge of infections was due to a combination of factors, including an increase in person-to-person transmission, or community spread.
Upward trend. Today's stats on the coronavirus. Worldwide infections have surpassed 9.2 million, with 2.3 million in the United States, according to Johns Hopkins University. More than 477,000 people have died worldwide, with more than 121,000 deaths in the U.S.
Here are the most significant developments of the day.
Our live blog will be updated throughout the day. For first in the morning updates, sign up for the daily briefing.
Most college administrators are mulling over how to restart their programs with no end in sight for the public health crisis.
According to the Chronicle of Higher Education, which is tracking more than 860 institutions' plans, 2/3 of colleges are planning to welcome back students in person, while only 7% are planning to hold classes only online. Many other colleges have yet to make a decision.
Their approaches are as diverse as the roughly 3,000 four-year colleges and universities that span the United States.
Eleanor Aspegren and Samuel Zwickel, USA Today Network.
The world's largest marathon, set to take place on November 1, was canceled Wednesday.
The organizer of the New York City Marathon, New York Road Runners, and the mayor's office decided to cancel the marathon due to coronavirus-related health and safety concerns for runners, spectators, volunteers, staff, and the many partners and communities that support the event, the organizer said in a press release.
While the marathon is an iconic and beloved event in our city, I applaud New York Road Runners for putting the health and safety of both spectators and runners first, Mayor Bill de Blasio said in the release. We look forward to hosting the 50th running of the marathon in November of 2021.
At the House Energy and Commerce Committee hearing Tuesday, Dr. Anthony Fauci told Congress that states may not need to revert to an absolute shutdown, despite a concerning surge in states like Texas, Arizona and Florida. However, he said that state officials should consider pausing or rolling back a part of the reopening plan if they're seeing a sudden rise in cases or hospitalizations.
If someone is going from Gateway to Phase 1 to Phase 2 and they get into trouble in Phase 2, they may need to go back to Phase 1, Fauci said.
The country's leading infectious disease expert also said he had never been given a directive to slow the testing down, despite President Donald Trump's claim that he had asked officials to do so. Trump blamed the increase in cases on more testing, though health officials have said the growing number of hospitalizations and cases are due to more than just an increase in testing.
When you have all those tests, you have more cases, the president said.
He added, then they'll say, we have more cases. We want to do testing. We want to do everything. But they use it to make us look bad.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott on Tuesday told residents to stay home as the state hits an all-time high for COVID-19 cases. The hospitalization rate is at an all-time high. Coronavirus is spreading in Brazos County and across the entire state of Texas, which is exactly why action is being taken, Abbott said in an interview on KBTX.
A look at some recent records.
If we are unable to contain the spiraling spread of COVID-19, there will be more requirements put on businesses, including even considering have to ratchet back and the expansion of opening businesses in Texas, he said Tuesday.
The Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission, meanwhile, cracked down on establishments that defied state guidelines and suspended the alcohol license of a dozen bars for not following coronavirus protocols after undercover inspections over the weekend.
The guidelines include an indoor customer capacity of 50% for bars and 75% for restaurants, along with social distancing of at least 6 feet between groups of customers, according to a TABC press release. Masks were not mentioned.
Americans are unlikely to be allowed into Europe when the continent reopens its borders next week, due to how the coronavirus pandemic is flaring in the U.S. and President Donald Trump's ban on Europeans entering the United States.
European nations appear on track to reopen their borders between each other by July 1, and their representatives in Brussels are now debating what virus-related criteria should apply when lifting border restrictions to the outside world that were imposed in March.
In recommendations to EU nations on June 11, the European Commission said travel restrictions should not be lifted as regards third countries where the situation is worse than the average in the 27 EU member countries plus Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway and Switzerland.
That is likely to rule out the United States, where new coronavirus infections have surged to the highest level in 2 months, according to figures compiled by Johns Hopkins University. After trending down for well over a month, new U.S. cases have risen for more than a week.
The U.S. on Tuesday reported 34,700 new cases of the virus, bringing its total to more than 2.3 million and over 121,000 dead, the most anywhere in the world. The virus outbreaks in Brazil, India and Russia are remarkably high too, and it's also unlikely that the EU will let their citizens in.
Associated Press.
Federal funding subhead.
The coronavirus has drastically affected the sports world, leading to cancellations and postponements from major pro leagues and NCAA events. Here's a roundup.
COVID-19's disproportionate harm on communities of color is heartbreaking, and demands more inclusive efforts as the federal government underwrites attempts to develop a vaccine and improve testing, the head of the National Institutes of Health told USA Today's editorial board. Read more from the interview here.
Getting on a plane anytime soon? With little oversight, a patchwork of airline coronavirus policies is leaving flyers wary.
Timeline. It's been 5 months since the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention announced what was thought to be the first confirmed coronavirus case in the U.S. Read how the pandemic unfolded here.